Hi, so today we're going to talk about a rule of exponents called the power to power rule. So first question, what happens when you square x to the third? Well, when we square something, we can write it like this. We want like x to the third squared. And when we square something, that means we multiply it by itself. That means we multiply like x to the third times x to the third. And if we wanted to expand this, we know that x to the third is x times x times x, right? And then we're multiplying that by another x times x times x. So essentially, I have all these x's that I'm multiplying together. So I have 6 x's, or in other words, x to the 6th. So x to the third to the second power is really x to the 6th when I expand everything out. How about this one? Y to the third to the 4th power. So again, thinking about what that means, this 4th power, it means take that y to the third and multiply it by itself 4 times, right? This is y to the third to the 4th power. Now let's expand this even further. Y to the third is y times y times y. And then I have another y to the third. And another y to the third. And then a 4th y to the third. So if you count up all these y's, you have 12 total y's. So y to the third to the 4th power is really y to the 12th, again, when I expand everything out. And hopefully you might be seeing a pattern. But let's do another recap. Let's take another look here. We have y to the third to the 4th power, and that's y to the 12th. And then we have x to the third to the 2nd power is x to the 6th. You might notice that if I multiply these two exponents, I get x to the 6th. And if I multiply these two exponents, 3 times 4, I would get y to the 12th. And so essentially, that's what there we go. Essentially, that's our rule, our power to power rule. So when we raise a power to power, we multiply the exponents. So pause the video, take a minute, and think of your own example using the power to power rule. Write it down here and simplify it. Okay, just a quick example I came up with. I might use like a to the 5th to the 6th power. Without having to expand this all out, I know that the power to power rule tells me I can multiply 5 times 6, and that's going to give me a to the 30th. All right, now let's look. What happens when I square 2x to the 4th? So 2x to the 4th squared. Well, that's 2x to the 4th times 2x to the 4th, right? And then let me expand all this stuff out. This x to the 4th is really x times x times x times x. And this 2 part means that I'm multiplying all that by 2, right? So this 2x to the 4th here really means 2 times x times x times x times x. And I'm multiplying that by 2 times x times x times x times x again. So in other words, I have a whole bunch of x's and 2 2's multiplied together. Well, 2 2's multiplied together is 4, and I have 8 x's. So it looks like I multiply these exponents again. The 4 times 2 is 8, right? But then the coefficient, that 2 out in front, I'm really multiplying 2 times itself. Well, how many times? I'm multiplying 2 times itself 2 times because I'm raising it to the second power. So when I have a coefficient, remember the coefficient is the number out in front of the variable. I have to raise the coefficient to the power as well. I'm not multiplying the coefficient by the power, I'm raising it to that power. So write this rule down in your toolkits. You can pause the video if you need to, but when you raise the power to power, you multiply the exponents. In a group to power, you're distributing the exponent to every value inside the parentheses. And what does this mean for coefficients? I'll jot down another note here that you could add. That means you have to raise the coefficients to the power. And this helpful hint, if it does not have an exponent, insert a 1 to represent the exponent. Here's what I mean by this. If I had something like x, y to the 5th, and I'm raising that to the third power, I have to distribute the exponent to every value inside the parentheses. But don't forget that this x is really x to the first, and I'm multiplying. So it's like x to the 1 times 3 is 3, y to the 5 times 3 is 15. All right, so you can pause the video here if you need to copy this down. All right, let's do some practice together. So these are just straight up power to power. We know when we raise the power to power, we multiply the exponents. So x to the second power to the third power. I'm multiplying the exponents, I get x to the 6th. I'm multiplying, these are both exponents, so y to the 10th. I would pause the video if I were you, fill the rest of these in, and then unpause and check your answers. Okay, so this is going to be z to the 3rd, a to the 21, b to the 4th, c to the 12, and h to the 12. Because again, these were all exponents, so I'm just multiplying. Okay, let me just show you 2 more examples. And you're going to notice in these examples now, I have a variable in the parentheses. I also have a coefficient. Remember, coefficients, we're not multiplying the coefficient times the exponent. We're raising the coefficient to that second power. Excuse me, sorry. So we're raising 5 to the second power. So 5 to the second power is 5 times 5, which is 25. And then I'm taking the x to the second power too. Well, x is really x to the first, and I can multiply. 1 times 2 is 2. There's my final answer. Number 2, again, the 3 is a coefficient, so I'm taking 3 to the second power. In other words, like 3 to the second power is 3 times 3, right? So this is going to be 9, not 6. I'm not multiplying. And then this is going to be 9y to the 1 times 2, which is 2. All right, so using these 2 examples you just saw, pause the video for a second, try these 7 problems, and then when you unpause, you can check your answers. All right, so again, we're raising the coefficient to the power. So this is a coefficient. 2 to the second power is 4. And then this is a to the 1 times 2, so a squared. 3 is a coefficient, so 3 to the third power means 3 times 3 times 3, right? Which is 27. So this is 27 x to the 1 times 3, which is 3. So 7 is a coefficient. 7 squared, 49y squared. 4, again, is a coefficient. So 4 to the third power. 4 to the third power is 4 times 4 times 4. 4 times 4 is 16, times 4 is 64. Use your calculator for this. You don't have to know this off the top of your head. Just use your calculator. Again, 5 is the coefficient, so 5 squared, 25h squared. 3 to the 4th is 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. So it's actually going to be 81b to the 4th. Use that calculator. And then this one will be 16z squared. Okay. Let me show you some more examples, and then you'll do some more problems. So notice here in these parentheses, I have two variables, or I have a coefficient and another variable, all raised to a power. I have to make sure that this power, this 2, gets distributed to everything in the parentheses. So this is really like an a to the first power and a b to the 4th, because that if we don't have an exponent, if you have a variable or a number without an exponent, it's really raised to the first power. So this a to the 1 times 2 will give me a to the 2. And then b to the 4 times 2 is b to the 8th. Final answer. Over here, 3 cubed is 3 times 3 times 3, so 27x to the 2 times 3, which is 6. So 27x to the 6th power. Because I'm going to multiply those exponents, the 2 and the 3. This 2 and this 3. All right, now that you've seen some example problems, pause the video and try these. All right, so let's go through some of these. We're going to take the coefficient, which is 2, and raise it to the 2nd power. So that's 4, and then I'm multiplying this exponent by this exponent, so 4a to the 4th. The coefficient here is 3. I'm raising it to the 2nd power. 3 times 3 is 9. M to the, but then I multiply these exponents. For number 3, I'm raising the coefficient, which is -5. So I'm taking -5 to the 2nd power, which means -5 times -5. And a negative times a negative is a positive, right? So this is actually going to be positive 25x to the 6th because I multiply these exponents. So 10 to the 3rd is 1,000. Y to the 15 because 5 times 3 is 15. Number 5, we have -3 to the 3rd. Now listen, this is a negative times a negative times a negative. A negative times a negative is a positive, but then times another negative is actually a negative. So this one's actually going to be negative 27p to the 21 power. 2 to the 4th is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, right? So this is going to be 16b to the 20th. And 3 to the 4th is 81h to the 24. Okay, let me show you some more examples. So now we have a whole lot of stuff in these parentheses. But again, it's really more the same. We're just raising everything to the 4th power. Multiplying the exponents, raising the coefficients to that power. So a to the 3 times 4 is a to the 12. B to the 2 times 4 is b to the 8. C to the 1 times 4 is c to the 4. Number 2, we have to take 2 to the 3rd power because this 2 is not an exponent, it's a coefficient. 2 to the 3rd power is 2 times 2 times 2. That's going to give me 8c to the 3 times 3 is 9. D to the 1 times 3 is 3. F to the 3 times 3 is 9. Remember that D didn't have an exponent, or it looked like it didn't have an exponent. It actually does. It's just an invisible 1. All right. Pause the video. Simplify these. And then when you unpause, we'll go over them. Okay. So again, we're raising everything to the 2nd power. So this is like a to the 1st, right? So we should have a squared b to the 8th. Here we have x to the 12, y to the 8, z to the 4 because that's really z to the first, right? Now we have 4. That 4 is not an exponent. It's a coefficient. So we do 4 to the third power. 4 to the third power is 4 times 4 times 4, which is 16 times 4, which is 64, right? So a to the 2 times 3 is 6. B to the 3 times 3 is 9. C to the 1 times 3 is 3. Number 4, we have the 2 is the coefficient. 2 to the third is 8. C to the 3 times 3 is 9. D to the 1 times 3 is 3. F to the 3 times 3 is 9. Number 5, we don't have a coefficient out in front, so we're just multiplying the exponents. So the g to the 2 times 5, so g to the 10. H to the 3 times 5 to the 5th, so that's h to the 15. And k is raised to the second, so it's 2 times 5, which is k to the 10th. Number 6, again, we have that coefficient of a 10. So we do 10 squared, which is 100. A is already raised to the first power, so it's a to the 1 times 2, so 2. B to the 3 times 2, so 6. C to the 1 times 2, so 2. 7, no coefficient, so we're just multiplying all those exponents. We're multiplying all these exponents by this power 3, right? So w to the 15th, x to the 6th, y to the 21, z to the 18. And then number 18, we have that coefficient of 5. So we're taking 5 to the second power. So 25, and then multiplying all the exponents. A to the 6th, b to the 2, right? Because this is b to the first. C to the 6th, d to the 2. Okay. How about these? Now I have some fractions. Oh my goodness. But it's all the same thing. We just raise everything to the power on the outside of the parentheses. So in the parentheses, on the top of the fraction, we have a c, or in other words, a c to the first. So we're going to multiply 1 times 3 and get c to the third. We're going to keep that fraction bar, and we're going to just keep multiplying our exponents. 4 times 3 is a to the 12. And then this b is to the second power. We're going to raise that to the third power, multiply, so b to the 6th. That's it. Number 2, notice I have this coefficient here. That 2 is a coefficient. So we're raising 2 to the second power. So 2 times 2 is 4. And then this is an exponent. So 2 times 2 is 4. We keep the fraction bar. And then m to the 4 times 2 is m to the 8. And n to the 4. There's my final answer. All right, again, pause the video, simplify these, see how you do. Okay, so now let's go through these. Again, we're raising everything to the power on the outside of the parentheses. For number 1, inside the parentheses, it's like x to the first and y to the first. So 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 2 again is 2. So number 2, multiplying the exponents, a to the 4 over b squared. I'm going to kind of run out of room here, or this is going to be squeezed in. So I'm going to put number 3 over here, but this would be c squared over d to the 6th, because this is a 1. 1 times 2 is 2, and the d to the third, 3 times 2 is 6. Number 4, we're just multiplying those exponents. So m to the 3 times 4 is 12. N to the 2 times 4 is 8. I'll put this over here. A is to the first power, B is to the first power, and C is to the first power. I'm raising all of those to the second, so I'm multiplying all those exponents. So 1 times 2 is just 2. All right, and then number 6 is very similar. These are all raised to the first power. So we're just multiplying 1 times 3, C to the third, D to the third, H to the third. Number 7, again, those exponents are getting multiplied. So x to the 4, y to the 2, because this is a 1, over z to the 2. Number 8, now here, this one, I have that coefficient there. So I need to make sure I'm raising 2 to the 5th power. So 2 to the 5th power, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Use your calculator if you need to. But 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32. So that's actually going to be 32. B to the 3 times 5 is 15, over C to the 1 times 5 is 5. Okay, that is it for power to power. I hope that was helpful. Thanks for watching.